Kyler Staley from thehoosier.com joining us now. And don't forget, right now, for the next week only, you can get half off at thehoosier.com. Keep up with all Indiana recruiting, news updates, insider information. Kyler, Alec, the crew works on. Go to thehoosier.com. It's only less than $5 a month. Surely to goodness, you guys could support thehoosier.com at $4 a month. Kyler Staley, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good. Exciting. It's another IU basketball game day. So excited to get down in Bloomington and watch them take on St. Francis in their last exhibition game.
Yeah, another IU connection game with St. Francis coming in and Brayton Bailey, Damon Bailey's son, playing for them. It'll be another opportunity to see. I think we're going to probably see the same lineups we did the other night. As I don't know that Trace will be back with that hand injury or whatever he has going on with that. I'm not sure what's up with Tamar, but I sure liked what I saw the other night. In every other essence, Malik Renew especially. I sent a tweet out that said it was just like watching him play in high school, and what I meant by that was he was being threatened no more than he was in high school. He was just as dominant, or the game came. It looked like it came very easily to him. He was very smooth. He never looked out of place. He looked just very comfortable. Jalen Hood-Schifino, the same. CJ Gunn, knocking those 2 threes down. You know what that has to do for his confidence, although he's already a confident player. Caleb Banks is the only freshman that I didn't really see much from. Jordan Geronimo, you didn't think much, and all of a sudden, bam, he hits the 3 and drives to the basket. So we got Miller Kopp, not a lot, but we get Race Thompson hitting the 3s. So we got to see a lot of the pieces out there.
Yeah, and I think the big thing about them is like they were very consistent on the floor. Now, Xavier Johnson was probably the only one that was just kind of a little rocky at times. But, I mean, without having Trace, without having Tamar, that just goes to show you. I mean, again, it was against Marion, so you kind of got to take it with a grain of salt. But, I mean, it just shows how deep this Indiana team is. You know, if one guy goes down, they've got guys that can step up and they can, fill important roles. And I was like you just mentioned, I was very impressed with the freshman class, Malik and Jalen especially. Those guys came in, ready. I mean, they're just college ready, and you saw that on the floor for the first time. CJ Gunn, his confidence, like you said, is just awesome. And then the thing that stood out for me with Caleb Banks, even though he wasn't really a factor, towards the end of the game when he got in, I just think he's got elite athletic ability. You saw that, just from his vertical and just kind of the plays he was making on defense. But yeah, they're a deep team this year. It'll be interesting if Trace or Tamar do play tonight. I don't expect them to. I know Malik did kind of stepped out, at the beginning of the second half with a knee injury, so he might not play tonight. Just kind of be on the safe side, but it's another opportunity to see Indiana tonight, and hopefully we can see more consistent play from Xavier Johnson. That's kind of what I'm looking for.
Kyler, Jim and I have talked a couple days this week about Indiana probably going with maybe a 9-man to 10-man rotation, probably not, going 13 deep, right, every single game, although you can play a little bit better situational basketball. If guys get in foul trouble, you can do that. We've had a couple questions, and there's probably nobody better to ask than you. Where do you see Anthony Leal's role with this team heading into the season?
Unfortunately, I see it more as kind of situational. To me, when I look at kind of the roster, I mean, Anthony's probably, the bottom 3 man, I just don't see him cracking a whole lot of much rotation. Now, Anthony Leal has shown, like he showed last year, he can come in and he can produce some solid minutes. It's just going to come down to where, let's say the backup guards or somewhere around there is just not, working out and everything. And they need, the experience of Anthony Leal to come in. He's got a high floor IQ. He works his butt off on the floor, can be a capable hot shooter. But I just don't really see him cracking the main 9 to 10-man rotation on a consistent basis this year.
Who was that? You said you didn't.
Anthony Leal.
Yeah. I someone asked that earlier, and I missed where that comment was. But yeah, I was going through the lineup yesterday, and I was picking out who I, trying to decide between a 9 and a 10-man roster, which that's going to be situational. We talked about yesterday. There's going to be times I don't think Logan Dunkam's going to be in that 10-man rotation, but there's going to be times where he's in there, whether it's because of fouls, whatever, because I think and we'll see more again tonight, but he showed the capability of being able to come in and provide some minutes, some rest, whatever the case is, relief, foul minutes for guys. I think he's an outlier. I don't think he's in that top rotation, but he's definitely going to play. There's just so many guys that it's hard. It's going to be hard to keep out of there. But at the same time, it's like that means you got to take guys off the floor. Xavier Johnson, his play is going to dictate a lot. And then Trey Galloway's play is going to be dictated by Xavier Johnson's play, I think. Or he can also sub in for Jalen Hood-Schifino, who I'm not expecting any problem from. But yeah, I wish it's going to be a Tamar Bates. Tamar Bates is he's going to have to show he deserves to be on the floor to earn those minutes to be in that higher rotation, which I'm sure that he is, but we haven't seen him yet, so we don't know.
Yeah, and like Woodson, I said multiple times, if he puts you on the floor, you better, make the most of your minutes and everything. Now, when I look at the kind of 9-man rotation, obviously we're going to see Trey Galloway, Jordan Geronimo, Tamar Bates, Malik. Those are kind of going to be your 4 making up that 9. I see Logan Duncombe as kind of that Michael Durr role that last year, Trace gets in foul trouble, Race gets in foul trouble, or what they just need somebody, especially.
Yeah, but you got Malik Renew who's going to be in front of him.
That's true. Yeah, but you can also play Malik at the 4. He has shown where he can do that. There will be situations where I can see Malik and Trace both on the floor at the same time. But for Logan, like we were talking about, I just see him, as situational, like you said, foul trouble. Let's say they're going up against Purdue, Zach Edey, where they need another big, to really kind of go out, and because Trace has shown at times where he has struggled with those type of big guys and stuff. And, Logan's put on a lot of weight where he can kind of match up with those guys a little bit better this year. So it'll be interesting, but I think you have kind of your 9, kind of in your head and everything. And then after that, it just becomes, situational. Like you said, is Xavier Johnson, is he consistently producing on the floor? Is he struggling? Trey Galloway might get more minutes that game. It just kind of depends on what goes on the floor. But by the end of the season, you'll have your pretty much set 9 that you see on the floor at a consistent rate.
Absolutely, and that's Trey Galloway, Race Thompson, Jordan Geronimo, Miller Kopp, Malik Renew, Jalen Hood-Schifino, Xavier Johnson, Tamar Bates, and Trace Jackson Davis. Those are the 9 that I think are going to be the core. The other, Logan Duncombe and CJ Gunn, I think, are going to see some time in there. And especially if CJ is able to get in, and because you always hear Mike Woodson say, hey, and the players repeat it, you've got to do what you can with the minutes you get. If he gets in and knocks down a couple of threes, don't need to be taking him out. But I think that he is very, very capable of doing that. And that alone is a gigantic difference for this Indiana basketball team. Not just CJ, but you're bringing in Malik Renew off the bench. That guy could start for a lot of teams, including this one. You'll be bringing in a very experienced Trey Galloway. Not a big offensive threat, but very experienced. Hopefully you're bringing in a vastly improved Tamar Bates, Jordan Geronimo. They're all these guys are better than they were a year ago. And in some cases, you've got Malik Renew, who is just miles better than what you had last year to bring in. So this team is so much better than what it was. Everyone's worried about the shooting. This year, I'm not worried about the shooting this year. is from looking at them. I'm like, you know what? They don't need to hit 100 3-pointers. They just need to be efficient. And I don't think Miller Kopp is going to push the issue. It could be CJ Gunn that hits those. Who knows? But I think that they're just going to be so efficient in so many ways that that reliance is not going to be there as much.
Right. And they showed times last year where they could win games, with poor shooting. That's just, they're going to play the inside out approach a lot. Like you said, they have to be efficient from, behind the arc. But CJ Gunn, we talked about him a little bit, Tamar Bates didn't play against Marion. So you saw CJ have a lot more minutes. I think CJ kind of falls into sort of that Christian Lander type of role. Last year, when Rob Finney went down, Christian was, he was the backup point guard. CJ, Tamar Bates goes down or whatever, where they need CJ to kind of plug in, he can do that. And I think CJ's confidence, that just transitions into the college level. I think that's a big advantage for him. But I think CJ's going to be ready. I think all the freshmen are ready for this. So we'll just see kind of how the lineup and everything goes. But, as far as scoring wise, they just got to be efficient from behind the arc. And then they just got to stick to their kind of bread and butter of doing the inside out ball.
See, here's why I am a little bit more concerned, apparently, about the shooting than everybody else for whatever reason. They are projected to be a contender in the Big Ten. People want to see them in the second weekend of the NCAA tournament. If this was a team that you thought, maybe they can just squeak into the tournament. If it didn't have the high expectations, maybe I wouldn't be as worried because I think they can win games without shooting. But you're not winning a league title without shooting. And so don't get me wrong, very positive signs. Race Thompson going 3 for 4 from behind the arc, CJ Gunn coming in, knocking in 2 of his 3 shots from behind the arc. That's a good sign. Shooting 42% from the 3, 50% from the field. Good sign, but it's against Marion. So to me, there's still a level of, I'll believe it when I see it, just because it's been so bad for a while. And again, it's not that they're a bad team. They don't have options. I just think that I want to see more consistent shooting for a team that is supposed to be winning the Big Ten. That's why I think it's going to be a bigger deal, because I don't think in today's college basketball, I don't think you're going to win a league title if you are shooting as poorly as they've shot in the past.
Yeah, and I agree with that completely on that. So sorry, Jim.
In the national championship game last year, North Carolina was 5 of 23 and Kansas was 6 of 17.
Wow.
Okay.
I'm telling you, Duke, you go back and look, they're not winning these games because they're great 3-point shooter teams.
That's one game.
I knew the reason I pulled it up is because I was pretty confident that was what I was going to see. I think you see this most of the time now. The 3-point percentage has gone down. 23, they're 5 of 23. That's horrible. That's horrible.
It's not good.
It's too many shots to be taken when you could have probably gotten a better shot and scored. How many of those 23 attempts could you have actually gotten a better attempt off and probably scored?
Yeah. And you just kind of look at
and they lost by 3 points in that game, by the way.
Yeah, like Dustin said, that is one sample size. You kind of got to look at, what kind of got them to the NCAA, championship game. That's where I kind of look at it. How was their shooting leading up to that game? But back to Indiana shooting, I think they just got to be consistent. They got to be efficient. If they can knock down eight 3-pointers, a game, they can average that. I think that's okay for them because, Woodson has said he has a lot of confidence in, Miller Kopp to hit the open shots this year. He knows what kind of environment he's in now. Whereas at Northwestern, that's just a different environment. Miller Kopp came in last year. He's not realizing, how the Indiana fan base reacts to those type of things. The Indiana fan base is very nitpicky on a lot of things. So, Miller Kopp missing those shots, he can get away with that at Northwestern, not at Indiana. So, this summer Miller Kopp really worked on, his game. He really worked on hitting those open shots. And I think this year you see a lot more than that. And if you got Race Thompson stretching the floor at a more consistent rate than already he did last year, that's huge for them. So they just got to be consistent. They got to be consistent but efficient at the same time.